Thank you. This morning I'm going to speak first about what it is that makes McLean so special and about where we're going as a school. And at the end I'll have an ask for you. But before I start, I'd love to hear if you have a few questions that you'd like to have addressed in the presentation, so I can either incorporate them, or perhaps we can address them later. Anything that's on your minds?
Expansion.
Expansion, okay, yeah.
The same thing, I was going to say expansion of the upper school.
Okay, yep, that's definitely in the presentation. Anything else? Great. So I'm going to talk generally about that topic right now, and then I'll talk specifically about the upper school a little later. We are opening this year with over 400 students for the first time in 6 years. We have a 23% increase from 3 years ago. And while growing fast, could be expected to present challenges, I think what we found is that by nature of our community, which is very creative in its sort of fundamental makeup, our teachers have been able to move with this. They've not only absorbed many new students, but many new program areas, and I'll get into some of those very soon. The increase in students is very important to us. It's important to us financially, just to have a strong financial footing. It's also an important signal that what we're doing is working, and that's of course of fundamental importance. We are here to serve our students, and I think what we're doing is working quite well. Part of that success has to do with the fact that we are a learning community. Now, we're not just a teaching community. Learning is not just about what happens with students, although that, of course, is the most important thing. But the way we can be excellent at that is by dedicating ourselves as adults to be a learning community as well. And some of this is really cultural, and it gets to the question of who comes to work here. And as I mentioned a moment ago, it's a very creative group of teachers and administrators, a very dedicated group of teachers and administrators. There are, frankly, easier places to work. You don't come to McLean School because you just want a job in teaching or in school administration. You come if you're really committed to dealing with these wonderful, brilliant students who are more complicated to teach, frankly. I mean, there's something about our students that brings them here, and it might be something about the way they pay attention, which can also be a source of creativity. Or it might be that they have a little more anxiety, or it might be that they're dyslexic. Some of us who are educators here, myself included, have some of these qualities. These are things that draw our teachers in and make this such a powerful learning community of adults. Now, it's not just who's here or what's in the culture, but also how do we support it through programming. So we bring in professional development to support our teachers so they know how to do their jobs better. We send our teachers out for professional development. We deliver professional development, and we are a national leader in this area, and I was reminded of that this morning when I got on my email and saw that Frankie Engelking got an email from an educator in Atlanta who had seen our name in an Atlantic article and said, how can we access some of the learning that you have at McLean School? So we're also forming task forces right now to go even deeper in these areas. So the 4 task forces that we've put together recently, and which will include 40 of our teachers and administrators, are one is on anxiety, led by Frankie, who is our Director of Student Community Wellness. The very existence of a position like that tells you something about McLean School. Second is executive functioning, hyperactivity, and attention challenges. And that's led by our middle school assistant head, Jenny Witchard. Language arts across the curriculum. So thinking about reading and writing and how is that integrated, vertically, horizontally. That's led by our lower school head, Sarah Hines. And math across the curriculum. Again, this question of integration, how do we not only be excellent at teaching math, but how do we make sure that it's fully integrated, that we have continuity through the grades and that it's also integrated across disciplines. And that is led, actually we have a team on that one, Josephine Diamond, upper school head, Linda Kern-Pelsman, director of academic program, and David Roth, our middle school head. And next week, Frankie will actually be joining me at a meeting of all of the heads, the 80 heads of schools of the Association of Independent, AISGW, Association of Independent Schools of Greater Washington, to do a presentation on mindfulness in education. So, so that's all part of this kind of idea that we are a learning community. Now, part of my own commitment to that idea, part of my own commitment to continue learning and to help bring that learning into leadership of this school involves board participation on school associations. So I'm on the board of the National Association of Independent Schools, which is kind of the big mother association for all independent schools across the country, and also locally on the AISGW board, the name of which I just sounded out for you. And I'm the treasurer on that one. And these are big providers of professional development, but they're also a way to kind of keep my finger on the pulse of what's going on in the world of education, especially in independent schools. What are the trends? Where's the competition? What's happening to the demographics? What works? What are the best practices? And so I seek to both help these associations, but also bring that learning back here. We know how to teach students here better than any other school I've seen. Let me just say that. And that's really true. Increasingly, we're recognized for that. And this, of course, is also very important. It's important for the reasons I cited at the beginning. We need to be growing, but it's important for our teachers who come in and pour their hearts into what they do every day to know that people understand what we're doing really matters. So some of that comes actually from all of you who support us in the Bethesda Magazine polls. We were delighted last year to be recognized as the best upper school. And we know now that in next year's voting, or this year's voting, we've won 4 awards. Best private school for non-traditional learners, best private school for music and arts. Summer Edge won the award for best day camp, and we won a top runner-up award for best private school for academics. So really terrific. It's going to help us. This recognition really helps us build on our current momentum. And I have to say, I think our academics are second to none. So maybe in the next time around, we'll get into the top tier on that one. So at the heart of this is what we do in the classroom. And when we reached out to parents a number of years ago, some of you were in this survey that we did 3 years ago. One of the questions we asked was, we asked people to list the positive attributes of the school. And then we developed a word cloud. And this is that word cloud. And when it came to me on my desk, and it was part of a PowerPoint presentation on 8.5 by 11 sheets of paper, all I could read was small classes. I couldn't read the other words, they were too small. And so first of all, it was actually before I started here. It was right before I started here. We'd set up this, I'd worked with the board on this survey. And I thought, this is odd. I mean, you know, don't all independent schools have small classes? Well, our classes are actually smaller. They are smaller than other schools. But there's more to it than that. And so I asked the market research company, the president of which is working with us on this project, and she's now on our board of directors, Elizabeth Scarborough Johnson, brilliant educational researcher, asked her to take out small classes from the word CLEP. And this is what came up. And I believe it still captures a lot of what makes our program so special. And you can see the next largest word was faculty. And then there are a whole bunch of other ones that really kind of get to our essence. Nurturing, individualized, supportive, allow for different learning styles. Individual attention, there's even small there. So, you know, there's a little redundancy because people were making up their own terms, flexible, accommodating. We are not going to lose that as we grow. We are going to hang on to that because we know that that's the secret sauce. And even as our numbers grow, we will maintain our small class size and our intimate connection with students. Because there's no learning without emotion. This is a quote from Mary Helen Imordino Yang, who is she's a professor of education, psychology, and neuroscience at the University of Southern California. And if you think about it, if you think about your own experience in learning things, think about how much more powerful your learning is, your memory is, when you feel a strong emotional connection. It makes sense. And I think it's something that McLean has known all along, long before these words were articulated. We have to provide a safe and nurturing environment for our students. They have to feel comfortable when they come to school. Ideally, and I think this is often the case, they love coming to school. In fact, we heard from some parents at the beginning of the year that their child went from trying to refuse school to saying, you have to take me to school now in the morning. That's the kind of environment that we strive to create and that we will protect as we grow. Now, I couldn't possibly go into all the different ways that we do this. And again, it is infused into both our culture and also our operating systems. But a few nice examples. Our golden system in the lower school, which those of you who have lower school students would know about, has been expanded so that students can recognize each other anonymously. And that's just a whole additional dimension when you don't actually get the direct feedback from someone when you thank them for being a good member of the community. You internalize that. I'm giving that golden recognition because I actually believe in those values and I want to support this other student who's doing that. You know, maybe on the other end of that spectrum, the lower school rolled out a new platform for digital portfolios so that a student can take their work, whether it's written, oral, a video, put it together, archive it, share it with their teacher, share it with their parents. It's a platform called Seesaw. It's one that's actually used all the way up to the college level, and we're looking at whether and how to roll it out in the other divisions now. The middle school, like the lower schools, moved away from standardized testing and is now emphasizing soft skills like creativity and problem solving. And also, those of you who are in the middle school saw we've now got a sort of a parallel report card system that seeks to reflect skill acquisition instead of just the sort of traditional letter grades that we used to give. So again, a lot of creativity, a lot of thinking about what is it that we can do to continue to evolve our culture, our community, to make it even more powerful to serve our students. So the upper school now. The upper school, so one of the things that I heard when I first came before I started was that the upper school was the best, McLean's best kept secret. And I think, you know, by that, I would say what I now attribute to that comment is that it's just as good as the other divisions, but people didn't know it. And part of that is it's only 15 years old. But the upper school had a problem, and the problem was that when we opened it 15 years ago, and we built that extension onto our building, which opened in 2001, the neighbors who were nervous about high school students coming into the neighborhood, and they already had Churchill right on the border, said, you can only have 140 students in your upper school. 140 students was enough to create a great program, but we've always felt that a few more students would make it stronger. Larger social communities, you know, to select your friends from, stronger sports teams, more diverse course offerings, although we were doing pretty well in that anyway, because we were willing to run smaller classes and single sections of different topics. I'm really pleased to announce that this summer, Montgomery County agreed to lift our cap on the upper school to 200 students. We reached out to the neighbors and got their support, and our new cap is 200 students. This year we have the largest upper school ever at 150 students, with 50 students in the freshman class. So ideally, that would be our kind of carrying capacity going forward. We work towards having 50 students in each grade. And I think it's going to take a fantastic program to being an amazing program. Maybe we're already amazing. So how do we do this without hurting quality? Well, we're already doing it. We've added additional sections in every subject for the freshmen. We've added senior humanities courses, Heroes of Our Times and Musical Traditions of the U.S. In language, we introduced ASL 5 and reintroduced AP Latin. In STEM, we introduced Introduction to Engineering. We brought in AP Physics C, which, if you don't know, is mechanics, and we reintroduced conceptual physics. We also added calculus and multivariate calculus, and we're building out our digital programming area in the visual arts. If that's not enough, students can take courses at American University, and they can take online classes through One Schoolhouse, the partnerships that we've established. And One Schoolhouse is the sort of an offshoot of Girls Online School for Girls, which was the original online program for independent schools that really figured out how to maintain the intimacy of an independent school classroom while going online. At the end of the day, it's amazing teachers that pull all this together and make it work for our students. It's that sense of commitment, that expertise at understanding students and knowing how to respond and teach them. It's that commitment to the students and to the school. One of the things that did not appear in that word cloud was technology, actually. People were not saying 3 years ago that we had a great technology platform, and in fact, we didn't. But we've really invested there, and technology is never an end in itself at McLean School. But we're really interested in how to use it to strengthen our program, to enhance creativity, to enhance collaboration, to enable research. And we've both brought in a new platform for that, and we continue to build it out. And at the heart of that, again, is this commitment to professional development, because you can hand a teacher a MacBook, or you can hand a student an iPad. But it's only when you really know how to use it, when you master it as an educational tool, that it becomes powerful. Technology is especially important with a diverse set of learners because it allows us to do more customization. It allows them to work around some of the things that may be holding them back, keeping them from expressing their true brilliance. I use technology in my own, not only my work, of course, as you see, but in my personal life in ways that I couldn't have a few years ago. I'm in a really wonderful book group. Yesterday we discussed The Age of Innocence. Well, I'm a slow reader, so I get a book like that, I download it, I start reading, I go back when I'm in the car, I listen. It could either be Kindle, Kindles can do this automatic sync thing. Happens that they don't have an audible book for Age of Innocence, so I was on LibriVox, which does. But I'm able to participate in this really wonderful book group because I can integrate the spoken word with my own reading. And that's what we're enabling for our students. If you've been to one of my talks, you know I'm a big fan of mindfulness, and this is another program we've built out in a very rich manner over the last 3 years, and I've in fact already mentioned it earlier in the talk. The research tells us, the research is really unambiguous, that mindfulness helps students learn. Mindfulness especially helps students who have trouble paying attention learn. And if that wasn't enough, our students tell us that. And if they don't get it, they ask for it. And we're doing it throughout our divisions, and we have our teachers are trained. They now give trainings to other teachers, as I mentioned earlier with this call from Atlanta. We're nationally recognized, and we've presented nationally on this topic. And my other love in terms of new programs is robotics, or one of them. And robotics, as I've told some of you before, is something that I really tried to do when I was a kid. We didn't have microprocessors back then, but I was trying to build robots all the time. And I think the thing about robotics is that it's cross-disciplinary, it's problem-solving, it requires resilience because you never get it right in the beginning. And it requires teamwork. So, and that, of course, is maybe the most fundamental skill that we all need to have as we move forward out of academics into the work environment. We've had a lot of successes with our young robotics program. Last year, our middle school made it to the States, it's very rich and very powerful. And it's another way that we try to have something for everyone. Similarly, our gardening program, which is mostly focused on the lower school, it's a great way of teaching executive functioning because you prepare the soil. You make a plan, you prepare the soil, you plant the seeds, you weed, you take care of it, you water, you harvest. This is a great way to teach students about planning and implementation. And when you get your hands into the soil, you start to settle immediately anyway. Another way that we support diverse learners is by giving them other outlets, like in the arts, the visual arts, performing arts. There's really something for everyone. And in fact, when our directors put together these plays, the first thing they do is look out and say, who's here? Who might we pull in? What's the right performance that would enable all of these students who would like to have a voice in this way join us? And they choose accordingly. This is our fall play. It's wonderful. And then athletics. We're looking for this balance between inclusion and achievement. And well, it's not quite true that anyone can be on any team anytime. It's almost true. And that would be a goal. But we also have success. So last year, for the first time, our middle school girls won the league championship in softball. Wonderful achievement. And we're very interested in the life lessons that come not only from athletics and arts and robotics and gardening and mindfulness, but also how do we exist in a community with people who are different from us? This is so important. And it goes so much to the root of who we are at McLean. Acceptance, inclusion, celebration, really, of differences. How do we live peacefully and compassionately in the world? And this is, actually, I showed this slide last year. Sorry, there are a couple repeats. But we don't get to see Malala every year. This is Malala, and our middle school met just last year. Met with her, and it was a very moving and powerful experience for those involved. Maximizing our mission also means reaching out to adults. So parents in our community are our most important partners in educating your students. But also we try to reach parents who don't have their students here, and educators in other institutions, professionals, many of whom refer students to us. And our kind of cornerstone event for this is Cecily's Advocacy Workshop, day-long celebration of learning and teaching and learning really for students who learn differently. This year, it's going to be on November 12th, so if you're not signed up yet, please do so. We're going to have Ellen Bratton from Boston Children's Hospital speaking about anxiety. Anxiety is a talk. We have actually a workshop on anxiety, and it's filling up so fast. Anxiety is a pervasive challenge for us as parents now, and for society generally. And actually, Ellen Bratton's going to be on processing speed, learning in the brain. Daniel Pine at NIMH is on anxiety, and they both are nationally recognized leaders in their fields. We also have an evening series of lectures. Many of you have been to them. They're terrific. Topics like parenting in the digital age, how to speak with your children about sex in a healthy way, giving adolescents a sense of control. And this year, we're rolling out a new program of lectures in conjunction with the Stixrud Group. So they're bringing their own populations in here and getting some exposure to McLean School that way. And those are all being broadcast out to you, and I hope you'll join some of those. We're fortunate to have many excellent schools in the area. We have many excellent public schools who don't appear on this chart, but many excellent independent schools as well. And these schools are sending students to us because they recognize, increasingly they recognize, that there are students that they have that they can't serve well. So here's where I did mean to mention my old school, Sidwell Friends School. I think in the last, this year and last sent us 5 students. And when a student moves from a school that's not really geared to meet their needs to one that is, that's a great thing for that student. It's good for us. It's good for the school that helps them find the right place to go, because if they're struggling there, then they're not helping in that environment. They come here, and typically they feel welcome, grounded. They end up getting often the same level of academics, maybe more in many cases, but delivered to them in a way that they can absorb in a community where they can feel they fit. I know this partly because my own daughter Natalie graduated last year, and so I got to experience the school as a parent as well as an administrator, and that was a wonderful thing. This upper school that I like to speak so highly of, I was a parent in that upper school. I got to see what it did for Natalie, and she's now a freshman at Smith College and loving it, and I have McLean to thank for that. So what is it that McLean does that helps our students be so successful? Many of whom, you know, a lot of parents tell me, often after their child's gone off to college, even a fairly selective college, they say, you know, we weren't really sure that Susie or Joe were going to make it to college. So what do we do? What do we do that gets them there? We give them really strong study skills, knowledge about how they learn, the skills to advocate for themselves. These are skills not just for college, but for life. And our students who graduate from the upper school with a B average or above have essentially a 100% graduation rate over 6 years from a four-year college. It's an amazing, amazing statistic. We have a great college counseling office. One of the things we're going to have to scale if we grow the upper school. And it's really focused not just on, you know, how to get the student into the most selective school that they can get admitted to, but what's the right school for this student? What's the right fit? It might be Johns Hopkins or Duke or Vassar. Some of our students go to those places. It might be Berklee College of Music. It might be High Point. But let's find the right fit. And I know that tuition here feels like a burden, but you can get some of it back when you apply to college. Last year's graduating class of 25 students had over $2 million of merit aid offers. This is the other slide you might have seen before. And this is a picture I keep in my office. I love this picture, and I get excited every time I get to show it. And I love it because, not just because our faculty and staff support our annual fund, which I think is a great thing, but because I see it as also a symbol of their deep commitment, their passion for serving our students and serving our school. We couldn't have a better faculty, and they couldn't do a better job, and it's captured here. And for 4 years in a row, every teacher has given to our annual fund. That's the ask for you, is that I hope that you all will also support our annual fund when you're asked this year. Virtually no independent school can cover the cost of offering education through its tuition. As high as it is, as unbelievably high as it is, it costs more to educate your students than we charge. And we rely on the annual fund to make up that difference. So please support the annual fund when you're asked. Please also spread the word. If McLean is working for your students, let your neighbors know. Let your advisors who might have helped you find McLean School know. Spread the word. It makes a huge difference to us. When I close with a quote, we get a lot of testimonials from parents. This is from Samantha Leita, who has a new 9th grader. Dear Kathy Patterson, Johnny loves school, 4 exclamation points. I've never seen him so calm, comfortable, and happy to go to school. I can never thank you enough for giving Johnny a chance for a fresh start. McLean has made such a difference for him. We are eternally grateful. Sincerely, Sam. And that's McLean School. That's McLean School today. Thank you very much.